I'm the Supreme Court. This is case United States versus Nixon in 1974. I, the Supreme Court, have jurisdiction because it has to do the executive branch and federal powers of the president.
Nixon planted recording devices in the National Democratic headquarters, an event known as Watergate, and he was caught. The U.S. then found out that Nixon had tapes indicting him. Many people in Nixon's administration were charged with obstruction of justice because they didn't provide the tapes. Nixon refused to turn over the tapes that he had based on executive privilege, stating that he was allowed to keep information from the public and people not in the executive branch. The case went to the Supreme Court, where they decided whether or not Nixon had to turn over the tapes.
Is President Nixon allowed to use executive privilege to keep information confidential and avoid judicial review that may prove him he committed crime?
The Supreme Court ruled unanimously on the case against Nixon. Rancliffe, one of the justices, did not vote due to the fact that he was a part of the Nixon administration.
The Supreme Court ruled against Nixon because they decided executive privilege did not apply because Nixon was both being charged with criminal actions and releasing the tapes was not a threat to national security. This ruling was a loose interpretation of the law because the Supreme Court had to decide what executive privilege meant. In this case, they decided that executive privilege is not an absolute power, especially when it comes to presidents or the executive branch or anyone in the government being charged with criminal penalties. The precedent that the Supreme Court case set is that the president does not have absolute executive privilege in all matters. For example, this precedent was used in the case against Donald Trump with having to do with his tax returns. They ruled that he had to provide his tax returns to the DA of New York because he was being charged with criminal penalties there.
Has the case been overturned? No, it has not, and it probably will never be, because it allows the government to put a limit on executive privilege and a limit on how much control the president has.
This case is significant because it defines what executive privilege is and sets precedent on future cases, stating that executive privilege is not absolute, especially in criminal cases.
The decision was ethical because it put a limit on the president's executive privilege, and it showed that the president is not above the law. But also, after the tapes were released to the public, the president didn't face any consequences, so he was charged of no crimes.
The Supreme Court rules against Nixon and he has to turn over the tapes. Unanimous because case against Nixon.
The Supreme Court did not. Oh, fuck me. What was I saying? Oh.
Yes, the decision was ethical because.
Okay. You just keep it.
Justin Bieber hat?
Because it allows the government to put. Oh!
Guys, can you do your TikTok after we film?
Turned. No, it hasn't, and it probably will not, because it puts the limit on. Blah!
Blah! Blah!
And shut up. Go away.
You didn't say anything. Action.
The Supreme Court rules Nixon
Of the law, but even though that